Part 17. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Peng. Chapter 162. Lord. Soon after Chen Ronghuo absorbed all the power of faith from the broken statue of the Lord of Dai Genzi, Huanglin flashed back from a distance like a shadow. Let's go. Seeing Huanglin return, Chen Ronghuo spoke immediately, without asking Huanglin what he had gained from this trip. After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, Zhen Qinzan immediately controlled the 4 large tripods, gushing out waves of power, rolling up several people, and flew straight to the east under the cover of a large amount of white mist. Until the figures of the people disappeared from the sight of the townspeople of Tongluo town, he turned another corner and took a few people to fly to Greenwater Bay town. Of course, in the process, Chen Ronghuo did not forget to seal the breath of several people with ancient books again. Although he gained a lot this time, he was still a long way from controlling the entire White Mist Island. And his strength was also a flaw. Only by accumulating food and slowly claiming the throne can he gain the greatest benefit in the current situation. Otherwise, he, a newcomer, suddenly inserted into the more than a dozen old and powerful forces on Beiwu Island, and wanted to compete with these people for the position of the new Earl of Beiwu, which would definitely not be worth the loss. Lord, this is the harvest just now. On the way back to Greenwater Bay town, Huanglin handed Shuijun's storage ring to Chen Ronghuo, and said, "When I went there, the treasure house of Tongluo town had been opened. Most of the treasures inside had been robbed. I just took advantage of the chaos to kill a few people, robbed some treasures, and returned. But Lord, don't worry, the few people I killed definitely didn't leave any traces. It doesn't matter." Chen Ronghuo shook his head. This was already within his expectations. After all, they arrived at Tongluo town a little late. But he didn't feel bad for not being able to get the treasure house of Tongluo town. As a third-level cultivator and the lord of an important town, Dai Genzi naturally has a storage treasure. At this time, he has not opened Dai Genzi's storage treasure. But thinking about it, there is a 50% chance that Dai Genzi's real treasure will be carried by Dai Genzi. Not long after Chen Ronghuo and his party left Tongluo town, Wenjingluo, Naiquangdao, and Long Fifeng finally arrived in Tongluo town. But they stood in the air above Dai Genzi's lord's mansion. Looking at the messy Tongluo town and the lord's statue of Dai Genzi that was broken into countless pieces, all the pupils shrank. Boom! Suddenly, Long Fifeng stretched out a big hand and grabbed down. Immediately, a warrior below who wanted to run over to see the situation after Chen Ronghuo and others left felt that the air around him was stagnant. Then the next moment, he was carried into the sky by this stagnant air. "I'm asking you, what happened in your Tongluo town just now? Where is your lord?" After taking the warrior in front of him, Long Fifeng immediately asked. When the warrior saw the 3 people floating in front of him, his face changed, and he gritted his teeth and replied, "Sir, spare my life, sir, our lord is probably dead. Because not long ago, the guards of our territory, the deputy commander, and the head of the Warlock Hall suddenly rushed into the Lord's house and looted everything in the Lord's house. After that, it was reported in the town that the statue of our Lord dimmed. Did Dai Genzi really die?" After hearing this man's answer, Wenjingluo and Long Fifeng's faces changed drastically. Since the death of Changsun Zhengzin a year ago, Beiwu Island has been in constant war. One force after another would go to war from time to time. But the death of a third-level cultivator and the lord of a town was the first time in this year. Dai Genzi is not particularly powerful among the 13 important town masters. But no matter what, Dai Genzi is also an important town master. Who did it? Was the sound of the battle in Black Tiger Town not long ago made by Dai Genzi? But why did Dai Genzi go to Black Tiger Town? Was there something that Dai Genzi coveted, or was there another reason? In a short period of time, all 3 people had a lot of thoughts. At the same time, Long Fifeng also made another mark at this time, trying to see if he could find some special breath. But obviously, this time, he still didn't absorb any breath. Suddenly, Wen Jingluo seemed to have thought of something and said, "Do you think that this battle just now is related to the battle that happened in Taixu town?" Related to the battle in Taixu town? Nai Kuangdao and Long Fifeng heard this, and their eyes flashed. Black Tiger Town and Taixu Town are not close, but not too far away. The most important thing is that this matter is too coincidental. The time when the two wars occurred is too coincidental. Almost not long after the war in Black Tiger Town was reported, the sound of fighting was heard in Taixu Town. A few people just thought in their hearts, and wondered if this was done intentionally. Want to distract their attention so that they can only take care of the east and not the west. Let's go to Taixu Town to see what happened there. The next moment, several people looked at each other and rushed to Taixu Town together. When Wen Jingluo and his men were rushing to Taixu Town, Chen Ronghuo, who was halfway back to Lushwiven Town, suddenly let Zhenkinzan fall to the ground. After landing, he told Huanglin, "Huanglin, you go to Taixu Town next. See what happened there and see if it has anything to do with Zhou Yuanhua." Yes. Huanglin immediately received the order. Then he said goodbye to Chen Ronghuo, and then he flashed and disappeared from the eyes of several people. After Huanglin left, Chen Ronghuo and Zhenkinzan rushed to Lushwiven Town again. But what he didn't know was that when Huanglin rushed to Taixu Town, Zhou Yuanhua, who was in a mess, had hurried back to Angsha Town. And as soon as he returned to Angsha Town, he quietly summoned Zhu Qiang, who had brought him all the way from Lushwiven Town to Angsha Town. Lord. Seeing Zhou Yuanhua, who was always clean and tidy, like this, Zhu Qiang was immediately shocked. Zhu Qiang. After Zhu Qiang arrived, Zhou Yuanhua said straight to the point without any pause, "I just went to Taixu Town and killed Tai Fei's Hang of Taixu Town by surprise. I refined all the faith power accumulated in Taixu Town with secret techniques in a short period of time and broke through to the 3rd level. Killed Tai Fei's Hang? Break through to the 3rd level?" Zhu Qiang's face changed immediately after hearing Zhou Yuanhua's words. After so much time, with his intelligence, after Chen Ronghuo reminded him once that day, he already knew that his son Zhu Zishan was actually Zhou Yuanhua's son. This matter is definitely the biggest shame for him. He has always wanted revenge, but he has never found a chance. And now, Zhou Yuanhua has actually broken through to the 3rd level. Does he still have a chance to take revenge? What can he take revenge with? Seeing Zhu Qiang's face change suddenly, Zhou Yuanhua thought Zhu Qiang was shocked that he killed Tai Fei's Hang, and didn't care. He continued, "But when I killed Tai Fei's Hang, I accidentally exposed my identity. Let one person from Taixu escape. So next, I definitely can't stay in Angsha Town. Do you have any suggestions?" Although he broke through to the 3rd level, the sequelae of the secret technique he used were very serious, and he had to rest for a while. "I have to eat at noon, the 3rd update will be at 2:30 p.m. Thanks to Whale Swallowing Wanli for the 200 coin reward, and Inamahuhuhu for the 100 coin reward. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 163. Suggestion. Zhu Qiang narrowed her eyes when she heard this. However, he did not make rash suggestions, but asked, "We can't stay in Angsha Town, so where does the Lord plan to go? Or, what are your plans?" Zhou Yuanhua said, "I killed Tai Fei's Hang and was promoted to the 3rd level. The established forces on Beiwu Island will definitely not allow me to grow bigger. So I plan to find a place to retreat for a while. When you are strong enough, then come out and continue to look for opportunities." Continue to look for opportunities. Upon hearing Zhou Yuanhua's words, Zhu Qiang immediately understood. Knowing that Zhou Yuanhu had received huge benefits this time, he might not even have the heart to develop his territory in a short period of time. The most important thing is that Beiwu Island is currently in war. And Zhou Yuanhu's strength has reached the 3rd level, and he can wait for his cultivation to be stable before looking for opportunities to fish in troubled waters. Just like killing Taifei's Hang and seizing the power of faith in the iron-blooded town. Zhou Yuanhu can still find another opportunity in the future to seize the power of faith in an important town. If it were in peacetime, he would have a low chance of success. But in the current situation, he might really have the opportunity to fight to support war, greatly improve his own strength in a short period of time, and become the ultimate winner of this Beiwu Island chaos. With this in mind, Zhu Qiang pondered for a moment and then asked, in that case, has the Lord ever thought about how to deal with the people in Angsha town? Zhou Yuanhu frowned. This was exactly what he was worried about. Once he leaves, all his foundations will definitely be swallowed up by other forces. It's not that he's not decisive enough. But he had been a lord for decades, and suddenly, he was unwilling to abandon all his forces. And this was also the reason why he looked for Zhu Qiang. He knew Zhu Qiang's talent, so he wanted to see if Zhu Qiang had any suggestions for this. Seeing Zhou Yuanhu's silence, Zhu Qiang's eyes flashed coldly and said, "The Lord wants to leave Angsha town, but also wants to preserve Angsha town. From the current point of view, there may be only one way." "What solution?" Zhou Yuanhu's eyes lit up. He went to Zhu Qiang with only a glimmer of hope. But he didn't expect that Zhu Qiang could actually come up with an idea. "Take refuge in Chen Ronghuo." Zhu Qiang suddenly said, "After the Lord leaves, I can take some elite men and pretend to join Chen Ronghuo." Pretending to join Chen Ronghuo. Zhou Yuanhu's eyes suddenly narrowed. When he heard the words Chen Ronghuo, his mind immediately flashed back to the humiliation of losing Greenwater Bay Town that day and being completely controlled by Chen Ronghuo. "Yes," Zhu Qiang said, "Chen Ronghuo is very good at management. In just 1 year, Greenwater Bay Town has completely changed under his hands. And I think Chen Ronghuo is very ambitious. If I bring someone to seek refuge, he will not refuse. At that time, I can take the people from Angsha town and throw them into Greenwater Bay Town. And with the help of the power of Lushwiven town, it has developed and grown. And when one day, Lord, you want to become a lord again, we can still cooperate internally and externally, and cooperate with you, Lord, to take down Chen Ronghuo's Greenwater Bay Town in its entirety. Let all his efforts be used to make your wedding dress, sir." Hearing what Zhu Qiang said, Zhou Yuanhu's eyebrows suddenly frowned more tightly, and he said solemnly, "Based on your performance last time in Lushwiven town, Chen Ronghuo shouldn't believe you easily, right?" "Of course he won't believe me," Zhu Qiang said with a smile. "With Chen Ronghuo's scheming attitude, no matter what reasons I give, he can't really believe me. However, whether he believes me or not is one thing. Whether you need me or not is another matter. This person is a person who does great things. I believe that as long as I join him, he will definitely use me." And, at this point, Zhu Qiang suddenly gritted his teeth and said, "This time when I go to Lushwiven town, I will take my family to Lushwiven town. Chen Ronghuo knows how much I value my family. With my family as a hostage, why should he be worried?" Zhou Yuanhu looked at Zhu Qiang and took a deep breath. After a moment, he suddenly put his hand on Zhu Qiang's shoulder and said, "Zhu Qiang, I won't say any more. When I come back someday, I will give you the greatest power. In addition, after you arrive in Lushwiven town, remember not to mention me again." Zhou Yuanhu suddenly thought that Zhu Qiang's family was his family. Perhaps it was a good choice for him to put his family next to Chen Ronghuo. Otherwise, he will soon be on the run. If he takes everyone with him, he will only become a burden to himself. At the same time, what Zhu Qiang said just now really moved him. In his opinion, Chen Ronghuo is indeed very good at management. If one day, he has the strength to come to the bright side, he could have taken over Chen Ronghuo's territory in one fell swoop, just like he did with Han Bai that day, by cooperating with Zhu Qiangli. By then, all Chen Ronghuo's efforts will become his wedding dress. As for whether Zhu Qiang will betray him, this idea just crossed his mind and was rejected by him. Before he brought Zhu Qiang back from Lushwiven town that day, Zhu Qiang was so loyal to him. Later, in order to bring Zhu Qiang back, he even said that he did not want his wife and son. So, how could Zhu Qiang betray him? Lord, don't worry. With Zhou Yuanhua's consent, Zhu Qiang bowed to Zhou Yuanhua and said, in that case, after the Lord leaves, I will immediately take some people, as well as my family, to Lushwiven town. Only, I wonder where the Lord wants to go next? I want to contact the Lord. How should I contact him? Don't worry about this matter. Zhou Yuanhua shook his head instinctively, but don't worry, if anything happens in the future, no matter where you are, I will definitely be able to contact you. Zhu Qiang was a little disappointed. But he also knew that if he continued to explore, he might arouse Zhou Yuanhua's vigilance. While Zhou Yuanhua and Zhu Qiang were discussing these matters, Chen Ronghuo and others from Zhenkinzan finally took a detour and returned to Lushwiven town after a long journey. After returning to the Lord's mansion, Chen Ronghuo immediately ordered, Ho-san, take Brother Zhen down first to find a place to stay. Brother Zhen has just broken through to the 3rd level, and it will take some time to stabilize his cultivation. Chen Ronghuo knew that in addition to stabilizing his cultivation, Zhenkinzan had gone through too many things on this day, and it would definitely take some time to sort them out. Thank you, Lord. Upon hearing this, Zhenkinzan quickly thanked him. After he said goodbye to Chen Ronghuo, he walked down with Ho-san. Zhenkinzan and Ho-san left, and suddenly he and Changsun Zhengzin were the only ones left in the hall of the Lord's mansion. Chen Ronghuo looked at his eldest grandson Zhengzin, thought for a while, and said, I'm afraid you have already felt that after the love blossoms in your soul, there are very few other distracting thoughts in your heart except the woman before. Changsun Zhengzin nodded. He was naturally aware of this. But he no longer cares about these. In other words, most of the thoughts he cares about have been absorbed by King Hua. Seeing Changsun's updated expression, Chen Ronghuo said slowly, as I mentioned to you before, the way to keep the soul shadow in your soul see for a long time is to make you have fewer distracting thoughts. The fewer distracting thoughts you have, the more flowers of love will bloom in your soul. Then the woman's soul will naturally exist for a long time. Changsun said with a hint of thoughtfulness, is that just that? That's it. Chen Ronghuo nodded, but whether you want to do this or not depends on your own choice. Then there's no problem. Changsun Zhengzin spoke calmly and said in a matter-of-fact tone, when can you help me? Chen Ronghuo shook his head. He didn't care about Changsun's updated tone. You must know that the eldest grandson is newer, but there are still children. But after Changsun Zhengzin's love bloomed in his soul, he even ignored his own heirs for the sake of magic ritual love. What does it mean to speak to him in such a tone now? Thinking like this, Chen Ronghuo smiled and said, of course it's no problem for me to help you. It's just that the love flower in your soul has just bloomed, and you still need to wait for a while. In this way, you will live in my territory for a month first. In a month, I will help you. At this time, he already had some ideas. I thought of a way to control Changsun's renewal in the future after integrating into the Wuchen state of mind, and he would become more free from distractions. It's just that this method still needs some time to try. Changsun Zhengzin frowned, in that case, thank you very much. You're welcome. Chen Ronghuo shook his head and said, but for this month, just stay outside by the statue of my lord. I'll ask someone to find you a broom. If you have nothing to do every day, you can help me clean the yard. You can treat the dust and debris in your yard as distracting thoughts. In this way, the more distracting thoughts you clear away, the easier it will be for me to help you a month later. This is pure nonsense. The reason was, of course, the obsession with sweeping the floor in his mind. Good. However, Chang Soon Zhengzin agreed directly without thinking too much. Call. After Chang Soon Zhengzin left, Chen Ronghuo let out a long breath. After thinking about it for a while, he took out all his gains this time. The fourth update is estimated to be at 6 p.m. Thanks to book friend 1810050100002602 for the 500 coin reward. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Dupang. Chapter 164. This time, Chen Ronghuo gained a lot of things. Not to mention the power of faith, there are 3 storage rings alone. One is from Xuejun, one is from Dai Zhenzi. Another one is from Wang Wu, the corpse sorcerer under Dai Zhenzi. Storage rings are controlled by soul power. Although Dai Zhenzi is a warrior, with his cultivation, under the nourishment of his own strong blood and qi, his soul power will not be too weak, so he can also use storage rings. Placing the 3 rings in front of him, Chen Ronghuo took out Xuejun's storage ring first. There was originally a thin layer of seal in this ring. But under the tinkering of Fat Cat, that layer of seal disappeared long ago. After Chen Ronghuo probed the soul power into a special mark on the surface of the storage ring, he soon found that his consciousness came to a storage space the size of 2 rooms. Plop plop. Then he moved his mind, and Dai Zhenzi, Chen Luyang, Wang Wu, the corpse of the zombie, and the 3rd-level magic puppet in this storage space were all taken out by him. After taking out these corpses, he first touched the attributes of all the corpses one by one with his left hand. Then he set his eyes on the 3rd-level magic puppet. This magic puppet was not made from the corpses of the Zhen family. But no matter what, it is also a 3rd-level puppet. After looking at this 3rd-level puppet for a few times, Chen Ronghuo dripped a drop of blood under the guidance of the ancient book, and controlled it with the power of the soul to turn it into a special mark, which was imprinted on the puppet. When the mark was formed, he immediately felt that he had developed a special connection with this puppet. This was a very wonderful experience. Through this connection, he moved his mind, and the dark magic puppet in front of him gently raised his arm. Chen Ronghuo was delighted, and then he tried to control the magic puppet to do some other actions. Finally, he found that no matter what action he wanted the magic puppet to do, it could complete it perfectly. At the same time, during the control, he also found that the magic puppet also had an autonomous combat mode. In the autonomous combat mode, he only needed to provide a certain amount of soul power, and the magic puppet could fight on its own. Obviously, this puppet has become an important trump card in his hand. After discovering this, Chen Ronghuo immediately tried to skillfully control the puppet. He didn't stop until 10 minutes later. Let the magic puppet hide in a corner of the hall and restore its spiritual power by itself. This magic puppet is good in other aspects, but it takes several days to recover after the spiritual power is exhausted. After being proficient in controlling the magic puppet, Chen Ronghuo checked the other things in Xuejun's storage ring one by one. Finally, he took out the crossbow that Xuejun used to kill Dai Zhenzi and 2 black beads the size of eggs from the storage space. After identification, the crossbow is called the demon-killing crossbow. It can lock the enemy and shoot. And when shooting the enemy, it will accelerate for the 2nd time. However, the most important thing about this demon-killing crossbow is not the crossbow itself, but the 2 dark red crossbow arrows left on it. So he can only use this crossbow twice at most. As for the 2 black beads, they are called dark magic beads. It is a powerful killing weapon that is more powerful than the demon-killing crossbow. And it is also a large-scale attack-type killing weapon. The only difference is that like the demon-killing crossbow, it is also a disposable killing weapon. Chen Ronghuo took out these things, refined them one by one under the guidance of the ancient book, or mastered the use method, and then looked at the other things in Shuejun's storage ring. It's just that he regrets that there is no such outstanding thing among the remaining things. Although there are some secret treasures among them, those secret treasures are estimated to be used to extract attributes for him, except for rewarding his subordinates. Of course, in addition to this, there are 4 bronze cards in Shuejun's storage ring. Each bronze card has a limit of 5 million. Adding them all together, at least in terms of wealth, it is not small. Then Chen Ronghuo looked at Wang Gu's storage ring again. The storage ring of this corpse sorcerer has a smaller space inside, which looks like the size of a house. And in addition to the corpse, there are some strange materials in its storage space. After checking it once, Chen Ronghuo found that it had no effect on him, and finally took out Dai Genzi's storage ring. There is still a seal on Dai Genzi's storage ring. However, this seal is not very strong. It was broken by Chen Ronghuo using the power of the soul in just over 10 minutes. So rich. After opening Dai Genzi's storage ring, Chen Ronghuo took a deep breath. Not to mention those treasures, just the dozen bronze cards lying in it, he counted them one by one, and found that the amount of these bronze cards added up to as much as 60 to 70 million. Such wealth is only what Dai Genzi carries on his body. With the prosperity of Tongluo Town, after years of accumulation, the wealth Dai Genzi carries on his body may not even be half of all the liquid funds in Tongluo Town. This time, Chen Ronghuo got so much wealth, it can be said that he really made a fortune. Then, he looked at the other treasures in Dai Genzi's storage ring. After a moment, he suddenly took out a porcelain bottle from it. There are traces of writing on this porcelain bottle, with the words Hualing Dan written on it. He opened the porcelain bottle, and bursts of medicinal fragrance immediately emanated from it. The second transformation spirit pill, after taking it, can quickly improve the martial arts cultivation of first and second level warriors, and it also has a certain effect on third level warriors. Chen Ronghuo's eyes flickered slightly. There are more than a dozen pill bottles like this in Dai Genzi's storage ring. Counting it up, it is also a good harvest. Then, he took out a porcelain bottle with the words Soul Ascension Pill and a few words Sea Spirit Pill from his storage ring. Soul Ascension Pill, a pill that assists second-level practitioners to break through when a second-level practitioner is at the critical point of cultivation. Taking this pill can quickly improve a small realm, but this pill has a weak effect on improving the large realm. But after firmly believing in the effect of the Soul Ascension Pill, Chen Ronghuo's eyes immediately lit up. As Fat Cat's cultivation level has been raised to the late second stage, he is not far from the late second stage. Normal cultivation will only take a month. Now with this bottle of pills, he should be able to break through to the late second stage immediately. In addition to the large amount of faith power he gained this time, if he is determined, he can even break through to the peak of the second stage in a short time. The only thing that makes him hesitate is whether he should use the faith power he gained this time to practice, or use these faith powers to improve his rank first. Thinking of this, he shook his head and gave up thinking about it for the time being, but looked at another bottle of pills. Sea Spirit Pill, it is made from the inner pill of a strange beast in the sea, which can emit a strange fragrance and has a huge attraction to some sea monsters. After opening this pill bottle and identifying the effect of the light blue pill inside, Chen Ronghuo was a little surprised. I didn't expect there was such a pill. However, this bottle of Sea Spirit Pill seemed to have originally contained 3 Sea Spirit Pills. But now, there are only 2 left. I don't know where Dai Genzi used the third one. Lord. Suddenly, when Chen Ronghuo was holding the pill bottle containing the Sea Spirit Pill, thinking about something. Accompanied by a burst of hurried footsteps, the voices of Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui came from outside the hall of the Lord's mansion. Why, are you guys done with your retreat? Hearing the two voices, Chen Ronghuo smiled and looked outside. Haha, yes, Li Haishui and I have finally broken through to become Earth Warriors now. Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui walked in, and Zhu Daipen laughed. This time, the two of us brothers broke through and became Earth Warriors. In the future, we can finally help you, the Lord, do more things. Hearing what Zhu Daipen said, Chen Ronghuo suddenly showed a strange smile on his face. In a year, with the large amount of resources he provided, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui, who were originally at the peak of the warrior realm, finally broke through to the earth level as they wished. But now, the role of the earth level warriors is not as important to him as before. By the way, Lord, but before Chen Ronghuo could speak, Zhu Daipen said, when we just came in, why did we see an old man in tattered clothes cleaning the yard outside? Who is that old man? Today's 4 updates of 10,000 words, the guarantee is over, continue in the evening, and should be able to make 2 or 3 updates to make up for the previous ones. Thanks to book friend 201811231353270494 for 500 coins, MOU Shi for 200 coins, by Ni San Yan, Shi Jingying Xiangji and book friend 2018121223332670 for 100 coins. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 165. You don't need to worry about that person, just remember not to provoke him in the future. Hearing Zhu Daipen's inquiry, Chen Ronghuo shook his head. Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui were both curious after hearing this. The words "don't mess with him" already made them understand that the old man in shabby clothes might not be as simple as they thought. They were a little confused. It has only been 2 days since they retreated. In 2 days, I don't know where Chen Ronghuo brought the old man back from. Naturally, they chose a secret room with excellent soundproofing effect for seclusion, so when they were in seclusion, they didn't even hear the huge noises coming from Black Tiger Town and Iron Blood Town. Thinking like this, Zhu Daipen said, Lord, it has been a year since we came to Lushwiven Town. In this year, our town has developed so fast. Not to mention anything else, the combat power of Earth-level warriors alone now exceeds 10. Can we now try to capture Zhou Yuanhua's Angsha town? Hearing this, Chen Ronghuo glanced at Zhu Daipen strangely again. Zhu Daipen had just broken through to the earth level and was obviously a little swollen. Although Huang Lin has not returned yet, he actually already knows that the huge commotion in the iron-blooded town not long ago is probably related to Zhou Yuanhua. And Zhou Yuanhua must have broken through to become a third-level cultivator now. Because for this matter, he only needed to speculate through ancient books. Even, there is no need to calculate the result. You only need to try it with ancient books and see how different the energy required to calculate Zhou Yuanhua now is from the energy required to calculate Zhou Yuanhua before, and you can guess it. And through this attempt, he already knew that the energy consumed in calculating things related to Zhou Yuanhua now is almost several times the energy consumed in calculating things related to Zhou Yuanhua before. After getting this result, he can naturally make some guesses. Only, he still didn't know what happened in the iron-blooded town before. That's why he sent Huang Lin away. When Zhu Daipen looked at Chen Ronghuo so strangely, he immediately scratched his head, wondering where he had gone wrong. At this time, Chen Ronghuo thought for a while and said, since you want to fight so much, then go and try Ho-san. I believe Ho-san will definitely satisfy you. Looking for Ho-san? When Zhu Daipen heard this, he suddenly became eager to give it a try. When Ho-san was a child, he often joked with Ho-san. At that time, Ho-san was a child, and he didn't know what he had beaten Ho-san to. But later, as Ho-san's cultivation level soared like phase, he would often walk away when he saw Ho-san again. But this time, he had just broken through and felt the powerful power of the Earth Warrior, and immediately wanted to try Ho-san again. Of course, he would definitely not dare to do it alone. With this in mind, he glanced at Li Haishui beside him and said, let's go find Ho-san to practice 2 moves. If you want to go, just go. Why are you dragging me along? Li Haishui shook his head quickly. If Ho-san is at the same level as them, they might be able to take advantage if they join forces. But Ho-san is now a small level higher than them. With Ho-san's strength, in the past, they could only be abused. You might as well go to Ho-san to practice. Seeing Li Haishui's refusal, Chen Ronghuo smiled and said, martial artists are different from warlocks. You have just made a breakthrough. If you go to practice, you can quickly stabilize your cultivation. Seeing Chen Ronghuo speak, Li Haishui smiled bitterly and could only agree, in that case, Zhu Daipen and I will go and practice with Ho-san. Go ahead. Chen Ronghuo nodded with a smile, you two join forces, and if you can hold on to Ho-san for 3 minutes, when you come back, I will reward you with a bottle of elixir that can improve your cultivation. The elixir he was talking about was naturally the second transformation elixir obtained from Dai Genzi's storage ring. He had little use for keeping this thing, so he could just reward it to his subordinates. Among the warriors under him, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui have the closest relationship with him, so it is natural that they should be rewarded first. A pill to improve your cultivation. Zhu Daipen's eyes immediately lit up when he heard this. He knew that nothing that Chen Ronghuo got his hands on was ordinary. Don't worry, sir, it's only 3 minutes. I don't believe that Li Haishui and I can't last 3 minutes together in Ho-san's hands. As he spoke, he took Li Haishui, said goodbye to Chen Ronghuo, and hurried to find Ho-san. Seeing the 2 people leaving, Chen Ronghuo shook his head. The second-level cultivators were fighting with great noise. But the underground training ground in Greenwater Bay Town has long been integrated with a lot of sound insulation properties and a lot of solid properties. Even if they were fighting in the dark, not a single sound would come out. Moreover, Zhu Daipen just broke through and seemed to be a little swollen. This time, it was just time for Ho-san to hit him. With this in mind, Chen Ronghuo waited until the 2 of them left, guessing that it would be some time before Huanglin came back, so he got up and went to his retreat room, and took out the bottle of Soul Ascension pill he had just obtained. The Soul Ascension pill, which is azure with hints of mysterious black, looks like eyes embedded in the starry sky. There are many types of elixirs in the world of gods, each with different effects. All elixirs are refined by alchemists. At the same time, only pyromancers can become alchemists. The same goes for the secret treasure master. When Chen Ronghuo saw the battle array equipment in Greenwater Bay Town, he thought about becoming a secret treasure master himself. It's just that a year has passed, and he hasn't made any attempt in this regard. Because during this year, in addition to managing the territory, he also practiced. But if you want to become a secret treasure master or an alchemist, you need to spend a lot of time. So after careful consideration, he finally gave up his plan to develop in these 2 areas. He is a lord. Does a lord still need to practice elixirs by himself? Refining the secret treasure yourself? Chen Ronghuo took the soul-raising pill, played with it for a while, then raised his neck and swallowed it into his stomach. It's time to form a team of secret treasure masters and a team of alchemists in the territory. Before the power of the soul-rising pill was released, Chen Ronghuo murmured to himself, then closed his eyes and quickly refined the power of the soul-rising pill. Asshole! While Chen Ronghuo was practicing in seclusion, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui walked out of the underground training ground with bruises and bruises 2 hours after entering, cursing. Not long ago, after they found Ho-san and proposed a plan to have a discussion with Ho-san, who was already in Black Tiger Town and was really fired up by Zhenqian-san but could not vent his anger, immediately his eyes lit up and he responded. 2 people came down to challenge. The next process is naturally self-evident. Under Hosan's crazy attack, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui fell to the ground countless times. However, the two of them worked hard for Chen Ronghuo's reward. If once doesn't work, then twice. If twice doesn't work, then 3 times. It wasn't until Hosan couldn't stand their entanglement any more times that he finally let go and let them hold on for 3 minutes. Get out of the way. However, as soon as the two came out of the underground training ground, they saw a pair of soldiers not far away, quickly running along the avenue towards the city wall of Greenwater Baytown. At the same time, everyone else in Greenwater Baytown was also in a mess, as if something big had happened. What's going on? What happened over there? In his eagerness, Zhu Daipen immediately grabbed someone and asked. The person caught by Zhu Daipen was originally dissatisfied. But when the man turned his head and saw that it was Zhu Daipen who had captured him, he quickly put on a smile and said, "Master Zhu, I heard that it was Zhu Qian from Angsha town who came to us with a group of people. Outside Greenwater Baytown. Zhu Qian from Angsha town." When Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui heard this, their fists immediately clenched. Zhu Daipen even said angrily, "Damn it, I just suggested to the Lord to attack Angsha town. Could it be that before we could get there, Angsha town actually came to die on its own? Come on, Haishui, let's go and have a look too." They had only been in seclusion for 2 days in total. They never expected that so many things would happen in these 2 days. But even if they knew that so many things had happened, even Chen Ronghuo, Hosan Huanglin, and others probably would not have thought that Zhu Qian would bring people from Angsha town to seek refuge in Lushwiven town. Pulled by Zhu Daipen, Li Haishui did not hesitate and ran towards the distant city wall with a bruised nose and face. As for notifying Chen Ronghuo, they knew that if it was really an attack from Angsha town, Chen Ronghuo would have known about it a long time ago. This chapter is still considered a guaranteed update. It has been decided that no matter how many words each chapter has in the future, the guarantee will be 5 chapters. The quality is not as good as those of the big guys. If the update is not as good, will I have to be a salty fish for the rest of my life? Besides, don't I owe more than 30 chapters? If there's anything I can't afford to pay back, I'll still have it tonight. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 166. Chapter 166 Breakthrough, 6th Update, Supplementary Update 19. Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui, after learning that Zhu Qian actually brought a group of people to Lushwiven town, immediately hurried to the city wall of Lushwiven town. They stood on the city wall and looked from a distance. They immediately saw Zhu Qian coming with 600 to 700 people. But what makes them feel weird is that among the people Zhu Qian brought, there were actually men and women, old and young. Anyone who saw the scene could guess that Zhu Qian was probably not here to fight. At this time, on the streets of Greenwater Baytown, a thin man wearing a black gown quickly rushed over, escorted by several warriors. This thin man in black is none other than Xiaoruo, who was appointed as the deputy mayor of Lushwiven town by Chen Ronghuo. Master Xiao. Seeing Xiaoruo's arrival, the soldiers nearby showed respect to him. A year ago, most people were dissatisfied, angry, and confused about Chen Ronghuo's appointment of Xiaoruo as the deputy mayor of Lushwiven town and the handover of Lushwiven town's guard team to Xiaoruo's management. But during this year, Xiaoruo relied on his intelligence and wisdom to manage the entire Lushwiven town in an orderly manner without making any mistakes. What's more, the development of Lushwiven town has exceeded everyone's expectations. This makes most people in the town now recognize him. Of course, when they recognized Xiaoruoji, these people also admired Chen Ronghuo's vision. The promotion of a former restaurant waiter to the powerful deputy mayor in Greenwater Baytown has become a favorite story in almost the entire Greenwater Baytown. Xiaoruo nodded to the soldiers. Following him, he walked quickly not far from Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui, and looked at Zhu Qian and the people Zhu Qian brought in the distance. When he saw that Zhu Qiang actually brought so many people here, including men, women and children, he felt a little surprised. Xiaoruo seeing Xiaoruo coming over, Zhu Deipen scratched his head and said, "What do you think this old Zhu Qiang wants to do by bringing so many people here? It doesn't look like attacking our Lushwiven town, right? But if he hadn't attacked our Lushwiven town, could he have led his people to join us? Don't tell me, you may have guessed it right." Xiaoruo immediately smiled when he heard this and said, "Not long ago, when you were in retreat, there were reports of powerful practitioners fighting in the direction of Iron Blood Town and Black Tiger Town. If I guessed correctly, one of the two battles probably involved Zhou Yuanhua. It's just that although Xiaoruo can guess some of Zhu Qiang's purposes, no matter how brilliant he is, he can't imagine the reason why Zhu Qiang came to seek refuge with them in Lushwiven Town. He witnessed the scene that happened in Greenwater Bay Town a year ago. Based on the scene directed by Zhu Qiang and Zhou Yuanhua that day, Zhu Qiang came to seek refuge in Lushwiven Town. Can Chen Ronghuo trust him? Perhaps, only if Zhou Yuanhua died would there be a chance. Xiaoruo was thinking, is Zhou Yuanhua really dead? Are you really here to seek refuge with us? Upon hearing Xiaoruo's analysis, Zhu Deipen suddenly showed a look of surprise. Not long ago, he was suggesting that Chen Ronghuo attack Angsha Town. But now, instead of them attacking Angsha Town, Zhu Qiang brought a large group of people to join them in Greenwater Bay Town. Thinking of this, Zhu Deipen's heart suddenly moved. He thought of the strange look Chen Ronghuo gave him when he said he wanted to attack Angsha Town. Lord, shouldn't he have known this for a long time? He looked at Li Haishui who was standing aside, and Li Haishui happened to look at him at this time. Xiaoruo. At this moment, when Xiaoruo appeared on the city wall of Lushwiven Town, Zhu Qiang, who was across the large green water, suddenly raised his voice and said, "Today I will bring the people from Angsha Town to seek refuge in Lushwiven Town. I wonder if you are welcome." Hearing Zhu Qiang speak, Xiaoruo stood on the city wall and looked down at Zhu Qiang in the distance, and couldn't help but sigh. A year ago, Zhu Qiang had only a few earth warriors who could compete with him in Lushwiven Town except Zhou Yuanhua. A year later, he took Zhu Qiang's place in Greenwater Bay Town. And all of this was given to him by Chen Ronghuo. When Xiaoruo looked at Zhu Qiang also kept staring at Xiaoruo after she finished speaking. Naturally, he would not fail to understand Xiaoruo, a person who was ordinary in the original Greenwater Bay Town, but who soared into the sky and rose to power after Chen Ronghuo became the lord of Greenwater Bay Town. He knew that if he joined Chen Ronghuo this time, he would probably work with Xiaoruo in the future. So he wanted to see how Xiaoruo would respond to his inquiry. Master Zhu brings people to our Lushwiven Town, and I will naturally welcome him. When Zhu Qiang thought this, Xiaoruo pondered for a moment and said, "I believe that our Lord will be very happy when he knows about this. It's just that our Lord is in retreat, and Xiao has no right to decide on this matter. So if Mr. Zhu and everyone else don't mind, I hope you can wait a little longer. We will make a decision after our Lord comes out of seclusion. If Zhu Qiang sincerely surrenders, it will definitely be of great help to their Lushwiven Town. In particular, he could see that among the people Zhu Qiang brought, although there were men, women, and children, most of them were family members of some warriors. Those warriors, in his opinion, were mostly not apprentices, but formal warriors. If their Greenwater Bay Town could get more than 200 warriors to join them at once, even if the level of these warriors was not too high, it would definitely be a big gain for their Greenwater Bay Town. On the bank of Greenwater, Zhu Qiang heard Xiaoruo's words and nodded secretly. Knowing Xiaoruo, he was quite self-aware. At the same time, from Xiaoruo's few words of response, he also knew that Xiaoruo was indeed worthy of his reputation. He was a little emotional. He was emotional that Xiaoruo, who was just a waiter in a restaurant a year ago, had grown to this point today and had the power to talk to him like this. Chen Ronghuo. Then he repeated Chen Ronghuo's name in his heart again. Xiaoruo was able to have what he had today because of Chen Ronghuo. If there was no Chen Ronghuo, Xiaoruo at this time might still be the same as before, just a waiter without dignity in the restaurant in Greenwater Baytown. While Zhu Qian was thinking about Chen Ronghuo, in the Lord's mansion of Lushwiven Town, Chen Ronghuo suddenly opened his eyes after several hours of seclusion and let out a long breath. At this moment, the medicinal power of a soul-raising pill had been completely refined by him. After refining this soul-raising pill, his cultivation finally got what he wanted and broke through to the late second stage. I calculated that in addition to various extra chapters, there are 9 more chapters to be added. This is the first chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 167. After achieving a breakthrough in cultivation, Chen Ronghuo thought that Huanglin should be back by now. So he stretched his muscles and walked out of the secret room. But as soon as Chen Ronghuo opened the door to the secret room, he saw a guard under Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui waiting at the door. Lord, seeing him coming out, the guard immediately said, Master Xiao asked me to tell you that Zhu Qian from Angsha town brought 200 to 300 warriors, as well as the families of those warriors, to the outside of our Greenwater Baytown. He said that he wants to join us in Lushwiven town, and I hope you can come and make a decision. Zhu Qian brought a group of people to seek refuge in Lushwiven town. Hearing the guard's words, Chen Ronghuo was startled and felt a little confused for a moment. Zhou Yuanhua is probably not dead yet? Even if Zhu Qian knew that he had been cheated and wanted to take revenge on Zhou Yuanhua, it shouldn't be possible for him to bring so many warriors here, right? Okay, I know, let's go and take a look. With this in mind, he said casually and quickly walked out of the corridor of the secret room. Outside the secret room where he was retreating, there were 10 guard handles at all times whenever he was in retreat. Even if he is not in seclusion, there are 4 people taking turns guarding him here. These guards are all guards whose loyalty exceeds 80 after being trained by him. Meow. Chen Ronghuo came out of the hall, and the fat cat was lying under the colorful spirit tree, rolling around and enjoying the spiritual rain of the colorful spirit butterflies. When he saw him, he immediately shook his head and rushed over. Chen Ronghuo had no choice but to hold the meaty ball and walk out. At this time, in front of the statue of his lord, Changsun Zhengzin was holding a broom and slowly sweeping the dust on the ground. Changsun Zhengzin's clothes were in tatters and he looked like an ordinary old man. There was nothing special about him when he was sweeping the floor. Seeing Chen Ronghuo walking past him, he had no intention of speaking. Seeing the eldest grandson Zhengzin, Chen Ronghuo's eyes flashed slightly and he said, the soul shadow in your soul sea does not need to be kept in the love flower all the time. She only needs to spend a certain amount of time in love every day, which is enough. She is attached to you and what she wants most is to see you and be with you every day. Moreover, after I strengthened her soul shadow origin, she has gained some intelligence and remembered some past events. In this case, you have been keeping her in the flower of love, and for her, it is no different from being locked in a cage. So, you might as well let her out often to make her happy. Changsun Zhengzin was startled. He immediately looked up at Chen Ronghuo and said, can I release her soul? Of course Chen Ronghuo smiled, otherwise, if you can keep her and let her stay in the sea of your soul, wouldn't it be a good thing for her? In addition, if you want her to be truly resurrected, you might as well let her be exposed to more things she liked before. This might be of some benefit to her. Chen Ronghuo didn't know whether the magic gift emotion could be resurrected. Chen Ronghuo didn't know whether being exposed to things he liked before would be of any use to Mo Licking's soul. He said these words just to try to make Changsun Xin more useful to him. Even if in the end, Changsun Zhengzin cannot be completely used by him. All he needs is that one day, if someone comes to attack the statue of his lord, Changsun Zhengzin, as the sweeping monk, can take action to deal with it. However, what he said can withstand scrutiny, and no one can find anything wrong with it. After talking to Changsun Zhengzin, Chen Ronghuo looked at the statue of his lord. As he walked past it, he pressed his left hand and integrated into it a divine attribute previously obtained from Black Tiger Town and 5 divine attributes obtained from Tongluo Town. Past. What just made him shake his head was, in the end, he only integrated 5 divine attributes into it, and he could no longer integrate it. With the integration of these 5 divine attributes, the invisible Lord's light emitted by the Lord's statue immediately spread rapidly. In a short period of time, it spread beyond the scope of Lushwiven town. It reached beyond the green water, then extended into the distance, and finally enveloped half of Shanghe town, which was several miles away. It seems that if I want to incorporate more divine attributes into the Lord's statue, I can only upgrade my title to Viscount first. Then with the help of the power of the gods, the statue of the Lord can be strengthened again. Chen Ronghuo shook his head. He had already thought it through before during his retreat. The large amount of faith power he gained this time will not be used to improve his title, but is intended to be used for cultivation. Although he has gained a lot of power of faith this time, even if he uses it all, it may not be able to quickly reach the 3rd level. But he is a scourge pyromancer. With the power of the natural disaster demon flame, as long as he reaches the peak of the 2nd level, he may be able to compete with some weaker 3rd level practitioners. At the same time, he can also use the remaining power of faith to reward Huanglin and others. Especially Huanglin. If Huanglin could reach the peak of the 2nd level, he would probably be able to compete with some weaker 3rd level practitioners like him. In this way, his power will really take shape. With this in mind, he quickly walked out of the Lord's mansion. Followed by several guards, he arrived at the city wall not long after. Lord. Seeing Chen Ronghuo coming, Xiaoruo, Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui all hurriedly came to greet him. Lord Zhu Deipen asked as soon as he saw Chen Ronghuo, "Did you know that Zhu Qian would come to join us?" "I don't have that much ability." Chen Ronghuo vaguely guessed Zhu Deipen's thoughts and shook his head and smiled. He followed him to the city wall and looked at Zhu Qian in the dense crowd on the other side of the green water. Zhu Qian, Fire Warlock, Late Stage 1. Loyalty, 60. Qualification, 1. From the perspective of attributes, Zhu Qian really has nothing special. Only the loyalty of 60 points is a bit special. It's not low, but a bit high. However, Zhu Qian was able to bring so many people from Angsha town today, which shows that his ability is not in his strength, but in his mouth. Chen Ronghuo's character can be considered mature. But in his heart, there are still some strange ideas. That is to have a lot of talents under his command. And it would be even better if these talents could be like some well-known talents on Earth, either in myths and legends or in reality. For example, Changsun Zhengzin, who was turned into a sweeping monk by him. As for his expectations for Zhu Qian, he expected Zhu Qian to grow into a figure similar to Shen Gongbeo in the future. But now it seems that Zhu Qian's performance is really in line with this point. After sweeping Zhu Qian, Chen Ronghuo's eyes went to the group of people brought by Zhu Qian, and then he identified them one by one. In case there were people with ulterior motives among them. After seeing the 2 dark magic beads in Shuejun's storage ring, Chen Ronghuo knew that in this world, no one should be underestimated. Suddenly, Chen Ronghuo's eyes flashed, and he saw Huanglin's figure among the group of people. He shook his head, knowing that Huanglin must have the same idea as him. Huanglin is just a stranger, but he was able to blend into Zhu Qian's team without being discovered. This is really a skill. Please subscribe, the second update will be at 12 noon. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 168. Chen Ronghuo's identification speed was very fast. After a quick glance, he identified all the 600 or 700 people brought by Zhu Qiang. The final result was satisfactory to him. Among these 600 or 700 people, there were 200 or 300 warriors. The joining of these warriors must be of great significance to his territory. At the same time, he did not identify anyone with evil intentions among these people. Thank you, Lord Zhu, for bringing people to surrender. I am lucky to be trusted by Lord Zhu. After identifying the attributes of those people, Chen Ronghuo immediately spoke loudly. In this world, subordinates can address their superiors as Lord so and so. Sometimes, people of the same level or superiors to subordinates can also address each other in this way. After he finished speaking, he immediately turned around and ordered Xiaoruo, Xiaoruo, you order people to open the city gates and let the people in the town welcome Zhu Qiang and the people in Angsha town. Yes. After receiving the order, Xiaoruo immediately turned around and made arrangements quickly. Chen Ronghuo's words, including the orders he conveyed to Xiaoruo, were all very loud. They all used the power of the soul to vibrate the air. It sounded like the power of heaven. On the other side of the green water, the people of Angsha town who followed Zhu Qiang to join Chen Ronghuo were all excited after hearing Chen Ronghuo's words. Before this, although they were persuaded by Zhu Qiang and followed Zhu Qiang to Green Water Bay Town, but they had no idea what kind of treatment they would receive after arriving in Green Water Bay Town. It was not until this time that Chen Ronghuo spoke and ordered the people of the town to welcome them together that they breathed a sigh of relief. They felt Chen Ronghuo's attention to them. Then, under Xiaoruo's arrangement, one ship after another quickly picked up hundreds of people on the other side of the green water. And in the process, Xiaoruo also arranged for people to find temporary accommodation in Green Water Bay Town for these people who came to Green Water Bay Town, so that these people would not have nowhere to stay after arriving. Master Zhu, long time no see. When Zhu Qiang's ship landed on the shore, Chen Ronghuo immediately led a group of men to meet them quickly. Zhu Qiang, meet the Lord. After getting off the wooden boat, Zhu Qiang saw Chen Ronghuo and immediately bowed to the ground and said, this time Zhu Qiang came to seek refuge with Lord Chen. The Lord was able to take Zhu Qiang in regardless of past grudges. Zhu Qiang is very grateful. Lord Zhu, please get up quickly. Chen Ronghuo hurried forward and helped Zhu Qiang up and said, I have just said that it is Chen's honor that Lord Zhu can bring people to seek refuge with me. Also, please rest assured, Lord Zhu, I will definitely treat these people you brought well. As he said this, he turned to Xiaoruo and said, Xiaoruo, did you hear what I said? Please pass on my order and tell them to treat everyone who came to seek refuge in our Green Water Bay Town well. Don't treat them badly. Yes. Xiaoruo nodded in agreement. At the same time, hearing Chen Ronghuo say this again, many people who came to seek refuge with him smiled. No longer as uneasy as before. After Xiaoruo agreed, Chen Ronghuo turned to Zhu Qiang and said, Lord Zhu, a lot of things happened today, and I still have a lot of questions. I wonder if you can come with me to the Lord's mansion to discuss it? That's what I want to do. Zhu Qiang agreed immediately. A few minutes later, in the Lord's mansion of Lushwiven town, Chen Ronghuo sat on the Lord's throne. Zhu Qiang, Xiaoruo, Huanlin, and Ho San were all given seats by him and sat in the position where he started. As for Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui, they brought people to guard outside the hall. After everyone sat down, Chen Ronghuo asked, Master Zhu, I wonder what happened in Angsha town when you brought people here to surrender this time. Just call me by my name. Lord Zhu Qiang stood up and said, also, Lord, you may not know that the noise in Taixu town not long ago was caused by Zhou Yuan, who was sneak attack and killing Tai Fei's Hang, the lord of Taixu town. After killing Tai Fei's Hang and taking away the faith power accumulated by Taixu Town for many years, Zhou Yuanhua has broken through to become a third-level cultivator. Killed Tai Fei's Hang and became a third-level cultivator? Hearing Zhu Qiang's words, Xiaoruo, who didn't know what Chen Ronghuo had done not long ago, was shocked. The lord of a town was killed, and Zhou Yuanhua broke through to the third level. In his opinion, there are really few bigger things than this. Even Huang Lin and Ho San were a little surprised. They didn't expect Zhou Yuanhua to break through so quickly. Zhu Qiang continued, however, after Zhou Yuanhua killed Tai Fei's Hang, his true identity was accidentally discovered, so he planned to abandon Angsha town and escape alone. Not long after, Zhu Qiang roughly explained why he went to Lushwiven town. Of course, his story was mainly told to Xiaoruo, Huang Lin, and others. For Chen Ronghuo, he knew that even if he didn't say anything, Chen Ronghuo knew the real reason why he led people to Lushwiven town. After Zhu Qiang finished his story, Chen Ronghuo knew the truth of the matter. Then he looked at Huang Lin on the side and said, Huang Lin, I asked you to go to Taixu town before, did you find out other information there? Huang Lin heard this with a strange look on his face and said, My lord, the news I got is roughly the same as what Lord Zhu said. It's just that before this, I didn't know that Zhou Yuanhua had broken through to the third level. In addition, Zhou Yuanhua's identity has indeed been exposed. Now many people are spreading rumors that Zhou Yuanhua may be a member of a mysterious organization. The incidents in Taixu town, Haihu town, and Tongluo town were all done by the mysterious organization where Zhou Yuanhua is. So now many major forces want to find Zhou Yuanhua's whereabouts and want to see who is behind the mysterious organization behind him. Mysterious organization? Chen Ronghuo was stunned when he heard this. He also didn't expect that Zhou Yuanhua would become the one who took the blame for him. What he did in Haihu town and Tongluo town was actually blamed on Zhou Yuanhua. Thinking of this, Chen Ronghuo suddenly laughed and said, So, Zhou Yuanhua did a good thing. Good thing? After hearing what Chen Ronghuo said, Zhu Qiang and Xiaoruo, as well as Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui, who were guarding outside the hall but pricked up their ears to listen to the conversation in the hall, were all puzzled. I don't know how Zhou Yuanhua's breakthrough to the third level became a good thing in Chen Ronghuo's mouth. At this time, Chen Ronghuo knocked on the armrest of the chair, looked at Zhu Qiang and said, This time, Taixu town and Angsha town are in chaos. There are also chaos in Tongluo town and Haihu town, which will definitely cause great unrest. I don't know how many people will be displaced. Zhu Qiang, are you willing to help me organize manpower to build another town at the location of the original Hexi village in Lushwiven town? At the same time, strive to accommodate as many townspeople as possible in the newly built town. Chen Ronghuo attaches great importance to the development of the territory. But he himself is about to retreat and practice, seeking to break through to the peak of the second level. So the affairs of the territory can only be left to his subordinates. And Zhu Qiang is best at winning people over. This time, the 4 towns closest to Greenwater Bay town were all destroyed. I don't know how many people will have nowhere to go. He handed this matter to Zhu Qiang, which was undoubtedly the most appropriate. It's a bit slow, but there will definitely be no less than 6 updates today. Thanks to the book friend Yefeng 2580 for the 1000 coins reward. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 169. Build another town at the original location of Hexi village? Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Zhu Qiang raised his eyebrows. He followed him and asked, Lord, you just told Huang Lin that changes have also occurred in Black Tiger town and Tongluo town. I wonder what happened to these 2 towns. Because of what Huang Lin said, he had already made some guesses about the matter. It's just that I can't believe it. The death of a Tai Fei's Hang is already a big deal. If we add Daigenzi from Tongluo Town and Shuejun from Black Tiger Town, then what happened this time was really too big. Chen Ronghuo did not answer, but glanced at Huang Lin. After receiving Chen Ronghuo's signal, Huang Lin immediately explained, before going to Iron Blood Town, I had already visited Black Tiger Town and Tongluo Town to investigate. If nothing else happened, the lords of the two towns might have died in the previous commotion just like Tai Fei's hang. Huang Lin knew that Chen Ronghuo did not answer by himself, which meant that it was not suitable for Zhu Qiang to know about this matter yet. So he just said the results without explaining them in detail. Really dead? Zhu Qiang and Xiaoruo were shocked when they heard this. Lord, after a while, Zhu Qiang recovered from the shock, and he said, Red Sand Town and Black Tiger Town, as well as Iron Blood Town and Tongluo Town, if they really all cease to exist, the territories of these towns will definitely be occupied by the important town of Mentang in the northeast, the important town of Longtan in the east, and the important town of Yuanhe in the southeast. After they occupy these territories, our Greenwater Bay town will be exposed to these three major towns. At this time, if we accelerate development and build another town, won't it be too eye-catching? It doesn't matter. Chen Ronghuo shook his head and said, no matter what we do, after the empty territories are occupied by the three major towns, they will definitely take advantage of us. So all you need to do next is follow my instructions and build another town. People from Shanghe Town had experience in building towns before. Afterwards, you can go to Shanghe Town to find Huang Taizheng, and you can transfer people directly from him. Zhu Qiang was thoughtful after hearing this. Listening to Chen Ronghuo's tone, it seems that he is not very afraid of major towns. In addition, at this time, Chen Ronghuo seemed to have thought of something again, and said to Zhu Qiang, do you know a second-level pyromancer? It is best to be a pyromancer with a foundation in weapon refining or alchemy. I want to set up a weapon refining hall and an alchemy hall in the town. Upon hearing this, Zhu Qiang immediately smiled bitterly and said, the Lord thinks highly of me. My cultivation level is just at the late stage of the first level, how can I know a weapon refining and alchemy sorcerer of that level? Chen Ronghuo was slightly disappointed. He himself can also train warlocks. He has even been doing this in the past year. Through the identification technique, in his spare time, he found more than 200 people with warlock qualifications among the 20,000 residents of Greenwater Bay Town. These 200 or so people, some too old and some too young, were all knocked unconscious by him, and then he found out their sorcerer qualifications. Then he only left some young men aged 14 or 15. There are about 50 of these teenagers in total. For a year, he has been arranging for people to teach these people reading and writing, various knowledge, and loyalty to Greenwater Bay Town and his thoughts. Now it seems that these people can almost be awakened to become warlocks. It's just that even if these people awaken to become warlocks, they won't be able to play much of a role in a short period of time. Especially the variety of these warlocks. Among the more than 50 people, he lacked the most fire warlocks, only 5 or 6. At this moment, Zhu Qiang seemed to have thought of something and suddenly said, by the way, Lord, I don't know a second-level pyromancer, but I do know a first-level peak pyromancer. This person is from the iron-blooded town, his name is Gao Yan, and he can be regarded as a weapon fanatic. Originally, with his qualifications, he should be able to break through to the second level. It's just that he spent a lot of time on refining weapons, and he just broke through to the peak of the first level not long ago. Now that the iron-blooded town has been destroyed, I am somewhat confident that I can win him over. I just don't know if the Lord can use it or not. First level peak. After hearing Zhu Qiang's words, Chen Ronghuo's mind moved slightly and he said, that's okay. You can tell him that I have a large number of weapon refining maps in my hand. And if he is willing to come over, I can help him advance to the second level in a short period of time. Now the 200 warriors trained by Hosan have almost taken shape. If all these warriors are equipped with battle array equipment, their overall strength will definitely be greatly improved. Especially those few warriors who have broken through to the earth level, if a battle formation is formed with them as the core, the strength displayed will definitely be even more terrifying. So now, he is in urgent need of a weapon refiner to help him refine these equipment. Zhu Qiang's eyes lit up and he said, if the Lord can provide such conditions, as long as Gao Yan has not joined other forces, I guarantee that I can win him over. Chen Ronghuo nodded. Then he looked at Xiaoruo and said, Xiaoruo, please send a few people to Iron Blood Town, Black Tiger Town and Tongluo Town to get some news and see what's going on there now. Yes. Xiaoruo said immediately. Chen Ronghuo asked Xiaoruo to send someone to inquire about the news. First, he really wanted to know the follow-up to what happened today. The second is to show off. Otherwise, if such a big thing happened near Greenwater Bay Town, it would be too conspicuous if they didn't even express their opinions. After all these arrangements were completed, Chen Ronghuo looked at everyone and said, in that case, Xiaoruo, please take Zhu Qiang down first. Remember to make sure everything is arranged. Huanglin and Hosan will stay here for a while. Yes. Upon hearing this, Xiaoruo and Zhu Qiang stood up immediately, said goodbye to Chen Ronghuo, and left the hall. After the two left, Chen Ronghuo looked at Huanglin and Hosan and suddenly called out the Baron mark between his eyebrows. Then he stretched out his hand and used two small groups of faith power, activated by the Baron's mark, condensed into two strands, and shot them into the bodies of Huanglin and Hosan, saying, in the next period of time, you all should seize the time to practice. I estimate that it won't be long before our Greenwater Bay town will enter the sight of those important towns. The power of faith he condensed with the Baron's mark was integrated into their bodies and could exist for 3 days. In other words, the two of them must refine these powers of faith within 3 days. Thank you, Lord. Huanglin and Hosan both thanked him quickly. Lord. After thanking him, Huanglin paid his respects again. In the next period of time, I want to take a leave and go to the mountains dozens of miles away. To that big mountain, Chen Ronghuo was a little surprised. Yes, Huanglin nodded. A year ago, my lord, you asked me to go there to look for the fire spirit object, but I came back 1 day later than expected. The reason for this is because I encountered a big snake in the mountain whose cultivation level was at the peak of the 2nd level. That big snake didn't know what kind of genius treasure it had eaten at that time, and was preparing to transform through sleep. I took advantage of it before it fell asleep, used my secret technique, and contracted it to become my snake slave. Not long ago, I sensed that the big snake had woken up and probably had 3rd level strength. When Chen Ronghuo heard this, he realized why Huanglin came back a day late a year ago. He smiled and nodded, this is a good thing. If that's the case, then you should go back as soon as possible. Chen Ronghuo knew that the secret technique Huanglin was talking about must be the special ability of the Mangadu Black Emperor Snake, the Snake Emperor Seal. Then, under his gaze, Huanglin and Hosan also retreated respectfully. Whoosh! After the two left, Chen Ronghuo shook his head and took out a bottle of 2nd transformation elixir from the storage ring. After throwing it, he threw it to Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui outside the hall and said, okay, you two, don't be stunned. Ears. This bottle of elixir is the elixir I prepared for you to assist in your practice. You can take it and practice. Thank you, Lord. Upon hearing this, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui took the bottle of 2 transformation elixir into their hands, and immediately showed happy smiles on their faces. And just when Chen Ronghuo had arranged everything, all the major forces on Beiwu Island had already learned the news that the 2 important towns, Iron Blood Town and Tongluo Town, had been destroyed in 1 day. After this news came out, a major earthquake occurred almost all over the island. Everyone is guessing who did this. Zhou Yuanhua must be one of them. But obviously, it was impossible for Zhou Yuanhua to do all this alone. Many people even speculated that Zhou Yuanhua might just be a pawn of the people behind the scenes. Thanks to Nine-Tailed Fox Dad for the 100 coin reward. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Dupang. Chapter 170. After Chen Ronghuo finished explaining everything, he thought about it and went to the town school again. He transferred more than 50 young men with sorcerer qualifications to the underground training ground. Then he mobilized the resources he had prepared long ago and began to assist these people in awakening to become formal sorcerers. People with different sorcerer qualifications have different means of awakening to become formal sorcerers. But this is nothing to Chen Ronghuo, who has an ancient book. Master Huang Xiaoshan, who is already 7 years old, is also among these people. Half an hour after awakening, he looked at Chen Ronghuo mischievously, and suddenly raised his little hand to Chen Ronghuo. Immediately, Chen Ronghuo felt that the soil under his feet suddenly became a little soft, as if a vortex was formed, trying to swallow him into the ground. His face was stern, and the power of the soul surged out, instantly solidifying the land under his feet into a stone-hard state. After he did this, Huang Xiaoshan's face suddenly tightened, as if he had used up all his strength. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't shake the ground under Chen Ronghuo's feet. Bang! At this time, Chen Ronghuo suddenly raised his hand and slammed Huang Xiaoshan's head. "Don't mess around," he smiled and scolded Huang Xiaoshan, then said, "I will be in seclusion for the next period of time. You should follow the teacher of the Warlock Hall and study hard. Do you hear me?" In the past year, he has opened a Warlock Hall in Greenwater Baytown. The Warlock Hall does not have a hall master for the time being. He just arranged the few warlocks who stayed in Greenwater Baytown as deacons of the Warlock Hall. Now he is short of people, so he also plans to let those warlocks teach these new warlocks temporarily. "Master, are you going to be in seclusion again?" Huang Xiaoshan heard this and immediately showed a look of disappointment. He likes to follow Chen Ronghuo the most. Because Chen Ronghuo can always tell strange, fascinating and unstoppable stories. It's just that the time he could follow Chen Ronghuo was too short. Chen Ronghuo spent most of the year in seclusion. When he was not in seclusion, Chen Ronghuo was busy with various chores, which made him very helpless. Of course, I can only protect the town by practicing hard and becoming stronger, so that I can not be afraid of the invasion of demons and not be bullied by others. Chen Ronghuo touched Huang Xiaoshan's head and said. A group of teenagers around him, aged 14 or 15, all showed admiration when they heard Chen Ronghuo's words. Become stronger, follow Chen Ronghuo, and protect the town together. These are the most important concepts that Chen Ronghuo has used various methods to instill in these teenagers in the past year. Huang Xiaoshan showed a confused look and said, "Master, when I grow up, can I help you?" "Of course." Chen Ronghuo smiled. After dealing with the matters of the Warlock Hall, Chen Ronghuo entered the secret room that day and began a new round of seclusion. This time in seclusion, he planned to break through to the peak of the second level before coming out. When Chen Ronghuo was in seclusion, the major forces, after repeated investigations, finally found a trace of the Mole family in Haihu Town. When they learned that Dai Zhenzi's death was actually related to the Mole family that unified the entire Beiwu Island hundreds of years ago, all the forces became solemn. However, later, no matter how much these major forces investigated, they could not find out what happened that day. As for the person who killed Dai Zhenzi and where Xuejun went, there was no way to know. So many forces began to look for Zhou Yuanhua's traces. They planned to see if they could find a breakthrough in Zhou Yuanhua. But Zhou Yuanhua hid directly after leaving Angsha town. Except for Zhu Qiang, several Earth warriors under his command were also arranged by him early, and no one could find his trace. During this period, the three major towns of Yuanhe, Longtan, and Mentang also began to divide up the territories of the four towns of Taixu, Tongluo, Haihu, and Angsha. The people of the three major towns acted very quickly. In just 10 days, these huge territories were completely divided up. However, in this way, Lushwivan town, which was originally surrounded by Angsha town and Haihu town, also fell into the eyes of several major towns. In particular, during these 10 days, under Zhu Qiang's management, the construction of the new town of Lushwivan town, centered on the original Hexi village, was in full swing. Zhu Qiang also sent a large number of people to publicize it everywhere. Before Hexi town was completely built, it had already attracted a large number of people to join. Such an action is almost impossible not to attract the attention of the three major towns. At the same time, the prosperous scene of Lushwivan town under Chen Ronghuo's management was also seen by several major towns. 1 month later, on the green water bank of Lushwivan town, this side close to Lushwivan town, a middle-aged man in gorgeous clothes, accompanied by Xiaoruo, walked out of Green Water Bay town and said, "Master Xiao, this is my 3rd time here, right? I came here 3 times, but I didn't see the lord of your Green Water Bay town. Haha, to be honest, I feel that your Lord Chen is even more arrogant than our Lord Wen. This middle-aged man is a lobbyist for Yuanhe town. The purpose is to persuade Green Water Bay town to attach itself to Yuanhe town. It's not just Yuanhe town. In the past month, lobbyists have come to the important towns of Longtan and Mentang. At the beginning, these people were quite polite. But after a few times, they didn't even see Chen Ronghuo. Xiaoruo kept arguing with them. Finally, these people gradually became impatient. Master Nan, you are joking, Xiaoruo said calmly, our lord is really in seclusion. Not to mention you, I haven't seen our lord for a long time. And if Master Nan asks around, you will know that our lord spends most of the year in seclusion practicing. So this matter is really not that our lord deliberately treats you poorly. This has nothing to do with me, the middle-aged man surnamed Nan sneered and said, but I also remind Master Xiao that being a fence-sitter is not a good choice. Not only are Yuanhe town, I think even Longtan town and Mentang town have a limit to their tolerance, right? In addition, your Lushwivan town is now the closest to our Yuanhe town. If you rely on other towns, once there is a conflict between several towns in the future, I really can't guarantee that our Yuanhe town will not use your Lushwivan town as a sacrifice. Xiaoruo's heart suddenly trembled when he heard this. In the past month, it seems that because of the news from the Moli family, the conflicts between the major forces have become more and more intense. Even a few days ago, Hu Shen, the lord of Zhejiang town, located in the easternmost part of Beiwu Island, was reportedly killed on the spot by Tan Xiong, the lord of Xinwu town, in a confrontation with Xinwu town. This incident caused a great sensation. Even the conflicts between the towns became more and more intense. After a year of undercurrents, the entire Beiwu Island now has a tendency to be irritable. It seems that it only needs a fire to be completely ignited. After the middle-aged man surnamed Nan finished speaking, he boarded the wooden boat in front of Xiaoruo without saying a word, and left Lushwivan town on the green water. Watching the middle-aged man surnamed Nan leave, Xiaoruo took a deep breath and turned to look in the direction of Lushwivan town. In the past month, he has been in charge of various affairs in Lushwivan town. Especially facing the pressure from several major towns, I don't know how many big bubbles have appeared in my mouth. Young men and women, please shamelessly beg for subscriptions. The subscriptions for this book have already dropped by several hundred starting today. I am a little crazy. The second half of the book is missing for an hour. I don't know how many readers I will lose. I am crying. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Chao Ji Depeng. Chapter 171. In the secret room of the Lord's mansion. Chen Ronghuo stood up from the secret room after a month of seclusion. This seclusion was the longest one he had ever had. Before, he would go out every few days during each seclusion. But this time, after a whole month, it was the first time he got up. Of course, his gains from this seclusion were also huge. After a month of practice, his cultivation had reached the peak of the second level. It was the kind of true, only one step away from breaking through to the peak of the third level. Of course, his cultivation progressed rapidly, but the consumption of faith power was also extremely huge. In a month, the faith power he had obtained from Black Tiger Town and Tongluo Town had been consumed by him, Huanglin and Hosan. Chen Ronghuo did not have to reward the faith power face to face. He could also reward his subordinates with the faith power by remotely controlling the Lord's statue. Exhaling slowly, Chen Ronghuo walked out of the secret room. It was around 9 o'clock in the morning. Chen Ronghuo walked out of the secret room and came outside. He immediately saw Changsun Zhengzin still holding a broom and sweeping the dust in the yard again and again. In the shadow of his Lord's statue, the soul of Mo Licking sat quietly on a stone, looking at Changsun Zhengzin with a longing and obsessed look. The stone where Mo Licking sat was the stone on the Wuzatum mountain in Haihu town, which was engraved with her and Changsun Zhengzin's names. When he came down from the Wuzatum mountain that day, Changsun Zhengzin put the stone into his storage ring. One person was sweeping the yard with a broom, and the other was watching silently and infatuatedly. Such a scene can be said to be extremely harmonious. However, in such a scene, a fat orange cat lying next to Mo Licking's soul, looking around, added a bit of weirdness to this harmony. Chen Ronghuo has never come up with a good way to control Changsun Zhengzin. So he thought that instead of trying all kinds of ways to conquer Changsun Zhengzin, it would be better to find a way to conquer Mo Licking's soul shadow, and then indirectly control Changsun Zhengzin through Mo Licking. Meow. After Chen Ronghuo walked out of the secret room, Fat Cat saw him and his eyes lit up immediately. But just when it wanted to run towards Chen Ronghuo, it suddenly seemed to think of something and stopped moving. The Fat Cat stopped moving, then glanced at Chen Ronghuo, pretending not to look at Chen Ronghuo. It has been a month since Chen Ronghuo went into seclusion. During this month, Chen Ronghuo didn't come out to see it once, which really broke its heart. After turning its head away, it sneaked a glance at Chen Ronghuo with its eyes, and walked around to the front of Mo Licking's soul shadow, jumped, and did a 3-flip in the air in front of Mo Licking. Mo Licking, who had been staring at Changsun Zhengzin, smiled after seeing Fat Cat's actions and looked at it. Seeing that Mo Licking was attracted by him, the Fat Cat jumped even more happily. Sometimes it flipped in the air, sometimes it rolled on the ground, sometimes it stood up, imitating people and making various movements. Seeing it like this, the smile on Mo Licking's face actually showed a bit of brilliance. Chen Ronghuo stood on the steps in the distance, and saw the smile on the face of Mo Licking's soul shadow, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Although Mo Licking's soul shadow at this time has spiritual intelligence, it is not high. And she is not like Changsun Zhengzin. After Changsun Zhengzin solved the curse of the love flower, there was no one else in his eyes except Mo Licking. However, although Mo Licking's biggest obsession is also Changsun Zhengzin, it does not mean that she is not interested in other things. Through identification, Chen Ronghuo knew that Mo Licking's spiritual intelligence at this time, except for the aspects related to Changsun Zhengzin, was like a child in other aspects. So, during the month of his retreat, he left the Fat Cat outside. He also told Fat Cat to find a way to amuse the soul of Mo Licking and build a good relationship with her. Now it seems that his strategy is not bad. Are you ready? Thinking so, he walked down the steps, walked in front of Changsun Zhengzin, and asked him. I have nothing to prepare. Changsun Zhengzin shook his head. A month later, he seemed to be cleaning the yard repeatedly, and he really became more free of distractions. Then I will start now. Hearing this, Chen Ronghuo did not continue to be polite. With a thought, he used the ancient book and merged the dustless state of mind sealed in the second seal page of the ancient book into Changsun Zhengzin. Under the power of the ancient book, the dustless state of mind was silently integrated into Changsun Zhengzin's body. Then under Chen Ronghuo's gaze, Changsun Zhengzin, who originally had a cold look in his eyes, became cold in his eyes after integrating into the dustless state of mind, as if it was the coldest night sky. Changsun Zhengzin, peak warrior of the third order. Wuchen's mind is being integrated. Integration time, 3 hours. After identifying Changsun Zhengzin's attributes, Chen Ronghuo shook his head. Then he looked at the fat cat who was still sneaking glances at him while trying his best to tease Mo-licking soul shadow, and walked out. Lord, are you out of seclusion? Just when Chen Ronghuo had just walked out of the Lord's mansion and wanted to walk around, Xiaoruo, who had hurried back from outside, saw him and his eyes immediately lit up. Yeah. Chen Ronghuo nodded, and then asked Xiaoruo, how is it, this month is okay? Okay. Xiaoruo smiled bitterly and said, Lord, in this month, the 3 major towns have divided the territories of 4 towns including Taixu town and Tongluo town. And not long ago, they all sent people to our Green Water Bay town to persuade us to attach ourselves to them. Just persuasion, no coercion, Chen Ronghuo smiled. Xiaoruo was speechless. Thinking in his heart, it is probably only Chen Ronghuo who can be so calm at this time. He took a deep breath and said, at the beginning, they were just trying to persuade us. But after a few times, their patience was almost worn out. Just now, the lobbyist from Xuanhuan town left our town. And from his appearance, this might be his last time coming. Xuanhuan town. Hearing Xiaoruo say this, Chen Ronghuo narrowed his eyes. All kinds of information related to Wenjing Gluo, the lord of Xuanhuan town, flashed through his mind. Also Xiaoruo continued, just a few days ago, it is said that the lord of Zhejiang town, located in the easternmost part of Beiwu Island, was killed in a battle with Tan Xiong, the lord of Xinwu town. This incident also made the situation in Beiwu Island even more turbulent and bizarre. Another lord of a town died. This news surprised Chen Ronghuo. After thinking for a while, he said, next, if anyone comes from the 3 major towns again, you will still be in charge. If they ask about me, just say I am still in seclusion. The so-called seclusion is naturally to conceal the truth. It took a while today, there are 5 updates with 11,000 words. I really can't write the 6th update.